quarterly. We've done them on next level job training grants. We've done them on how to hire candidates that have records. We have done them on how to update your job descriptions into a skilled-based format, which helps get more people to apply for your jobs. So if you have any topics that you would like to have covered, just send me a chat and we'll be happy to do that, because we are always looking for topics. Our next one's going to be how you can incorporate AI in searching for employees. So we'll send you that information out when we get that date. It'll probably be late April. So anyway, welcome again. We really appreciate you joining us. Our first speaker is Daniel Thompson, and he is what we call a leaver, which it stands for Local Veterans Employment Representative. And he's going to go over some of the benefits that you can get by hiring a veteran and how he can help assist you and that kind of thing. So I'm going to turn it over to Daniel. Please mute your microphones if you haven't already. And if you have any questions, you can either raise your hand when Daniel's done or chat. And we'll also ask for questions after each speaker and then at the totally end of the program. And we will wrap up by 12:30. So thank you all again for attending. And Daniel, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Hello, I'm Daniel Thompson. I'm the local Veterans Employment Representative for Marion County. I work with the Department of Workforce Development. And you can see some slides showing here. Give me just a second. All right, does everyone see the slides? Okay, I'll just give a quick overview of my duties and how I can help you. I saw the thumbs up. So basically a local veterans employment representative. I'm a specialist appointed by the state, and I only work with veterans. It's useful to think of me sort of as a liaison between businesses and groups and the individuals and the caseworkers that work with the individuals. I don't generally directly work with the actual veterans. I kind of serve to find your needs and what we have available in the office, and we try to match everybody together. I'm also in general just an advocate for veterans. Everyone in the organization is a veteran. I was in the Army for 10 years, armor soldier. And so I think we probably have a better view of veterans' needs, the skills they bring, and associated things. I work with talent recruitment. I attend job fairs, hiring events. I can help you with job fairs and hiring events. We occasionally have them. I can also provide resources to get you into ones. And if there's ever any time you want to attend one, have an idea about it, a question, I can help you with that. I also help with general DWD things. So for instance, if you have job listings you need posted on Indiana Career Connect, I can do those. If you have any questions about any of the tax advantages or other programs available, I can help you with those. I can help you with the forms. I can even go as far as doing them for you totally. No problem doing that. I'm generally pretty flexible in the hours I can help you with, and I'm really excited to help anyone. Also, just going to throw in a couple quick things. There's the Hire Vets Medallion program. It's a federal recognition for various veterans programs. It can show that you like to hire veterans, that you have things. I can also help with that. There are different things to do. I can help you set up veterans organizations at your workplace even. Also, I can help you with the Work Opportunity Tax Credit, which is different for veterans in that depending on the classification of the veteran, it can be quite a bit more than the standard Work Opportunity Tax Credit. and I can help you. It's a real simple program, and I can help with that if there are any questions about that. Um, and I'm just going to go over some of the advantages of hiring veterans in general. I don't necessarily work with veterans who are um, more hard to hire per se. Some of the other organizations do, and I do too. But I work with a wide array of veterans. Right now, we have everyone from people with a high school diploma to people with master's degrees. So we can fit a pretty wide range of roles for your organization depending on who we have come in. And some of the just basic advantages of hiring veterans are they often come with leadership skills, depending once again upon what they've done from a small squad or team all the way to thousands of people. Strong work ethic, discipline. Veterans are much more likely to stay with an employer longer. They're more likely to be punctual. They're, um, pardon, generally just bring a much more dedication and a much more ability to adapt and think on their feet because that's been necessary in their service. Um, this would include such things as problem solving, um, anything like that that requires someone to think on their feet is generally something they can do better. I know the stereotype is someone standing around waiting for someone to tell them what to do, but there's a lot of very small level even problem solving that's encouraged in the armed services, and they can bring that to your team. They also, however, can do what they're told and are good at following orders. Um, does anyone have any questions for me?
Daniel, would you be able to put your contact information in the chat so people will know directly how to reach out to you if they would like to learn more about the tax credits or any of the forms that they need to fill out to take advantage of the opportunities in helping a veteran?
Oh, absolutely. That's no problem at all.
Okay. Anybody have a specific question for Daniel? You may think of more questions as we get farther along in the lunch and learn. So hold those thoughts, and then at the end you can ask questions of any of our speakers. Thank you, Daniel. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're
Um,
welcome.
if you can stop sharing your screen, I'm going to introduce Raven. And Ravencraft is with HBAF, and I will let her go ahead and speak on her organization and the benefits of going through HBAF and who they assist. But they are the organization that recently had the fire that burned down the residence where they house a lot of the veterans. So I don't know if she wants to go into that or not, but that they were on the news a lot, and I just want to make sure you could connect the organization. So Raven, you're on.
Good morning, everyone. As Connie stated, my name is Raven Craft. I work at Helping Veterans and Families. We are primarily a housing agency, a nonprofit that's located in downtown Indianapolis. However, I work in our Veteran Workforce Development Department. Our agency, while we are located in Marion County, we also serve the surrounding donut counties and have also just recently, as of last summer, expanded down to the Vigo County, Terre Haute area as well, for employment services only at this time. Yes, as she mentioned, Manchester Apartments, which is or was in a sense attached to our main office at 964 North Pennsylvania Street. It did burn down on October 26th last year. That was a very devastating experience because we have so many veteran household members that were in there. That unit, we have other transitional housing placements that are throughout the Marion County area. However, that was our largest. So with us being one of the largest homeless veteran service providers for transitional housing, it has been a setback. However, we are partnered with these like Maple Creek apartments, and we're using that as another transitional space while we're working to rebuild Manchester, which was considered a total loss by insurance. So if anyone has resources or would like to donate, whether for our food and clothing pantry or just to our fire assistance, I can get you connected to those people who would take those forms of assistance. So thank you, Connie, for mentioning that. As far as for our workforce development, bear with me because I've never actually shared a presentation on Teams. So my screen is, there we go. Our Veteran Workforce Development Department has two primary employment programs. Employment services is what you typically think of when someone is needing employment assistance. We first do an intake assessment. I meet with every veteran over the phone, or if they, for whatever reason, need to meet in person, I will meet with them gladly in person to just get a general gist of what their employment related needs are, and then determine which of our two programs would be the best fit for them. Our employment services program helps with job search and application. Some veterans, whether it's because of their lack of connection to technology or their not so tech savvy, we can help them manually apply to different employers. We have interview skills and resume creation and revision. We also have some funds available through two grants under employment services that allow us to pay for work-related expenses for veterans upon those individuals actually having proof of employment. Our employment services program, we also have employer highlights monthly. With the fire, we did not have one for a couple months now, just because of the change and shift in gears, trying to get things together. But starting in February, we will be back up with having our monthly employer highlight events. Those events typically are just an opportunity for an employer to come to HVAF and meet with our veterans that we're already working with, or just the individuals that we broadcast the event throughout the community. Those individuals that come, they, typically are bringing the resume and are expecting kind of like a on the spot job interview. If for your type of hiring process, you have other additional interviews, like, whether it's just like initial first interview and then you call someone back in, that's totally fine. But it's just a way to kind of expand and see, here are the people that we're working with, and get a wider net of individuals. We also have in the spring and the fall a larger job fair that has multiple employers, and we'll be glad to share that information once we have that planned out later on in the year. Our VetWorks program is a three-phase work, learn, and earn program, which, oops, I'm so sorry. I thought this had switched over to the other page. Is a three-phase work, learn, and earn program, in which the first phase is a 10-week internship, where we have some placements at our HVAF with our maintenance department, our IT, our community center, and then we also have some external partnerships, such as with Recovery Cafe for individuals that are interested in becoming peer mentors, and some other spaces. Recently, one of my veterans actually got a apprenticeship through Eskenazi Health for peer recovery. So we have those type of opportunities. And while they're going through those 10 weeks, we're also doing mock interviews based off of the career path that they're going into. We're doing resume creation and revision, and giving just those general essential soft skills that are needed for any job. A lot of the veterans that come through this program and are successful in this program are individuals who are in some form of transition. We have recent service members who are going into their first full-time civilian career. And then also we have individuals who may be older who are transitioning out of some very physically exhaustive careers and are looking for something else to do, as they're not ready to retire just yet. The youngest veteran I've worked with was 19 years old, and my most senior veteran I've ever worked with was 77. So it's a wide range of skill sets and experiences within that team. The second phase is where they're going through a vocational training, or they're taking educational classes based off what their interest is in upskilling. So a lot of individuals that are in our IT program are going through and getting like those initial certifications to kind of be able to go into any entry level IT positions. We have people interested in getting their CDLs, people going into like CNA to go into nursing, all different types of things. Pretty much we can pay for anything that is a certification. We don't exactly have money to pay for a 2 to 4 year degree, but we can pay for some classes. I had a veteran who needed assistance. They had maybe like a couple of classes left that weren't covered by their GI Bill and some other funding sources. So we were able to pay for that. And he was able to complete his master's program and is now working for the Department of Defense, as an example. And that phase two, it just really depends on the type of vocational training or educational classes that individual is taking. So it could range from anything to like a day to, I think our individual with the IT, some of them go through like a 50-week IT vocational training. And lastly, the phase three is the phase where we're actually working with an employment specialist that is going to place them in a job based off of the training that they received in phase two. That employer, Alberta, I mean that employer recruiter Alberta, she works with them for a year post them getting a job. So she sticks with them not only to make sure that they're getting through that initial probationary period of a job, but also making sure that veterans are connected to other resources, because the overall goal is the veteran to be able to have self-sufficiency and sustainability within a job. And we find that oftentimes individuals that are receiving some sort of assistance, they don't come back to ask for additional assistance because they feel like they're taking too much, but we want to make sure that they're, sufficient in all areas of their lives. And with that, relationship with Alberta, she's also able to establish relationships with employers as well. And so if you have any feedback on like trainings that are needed or just whatever experiences you have with our veterans, that's a relationship that's kind of ongoing with her within that program, to give good or even negative feedback. Ways to partner with us. Typically, what happens whenever I do employer outreach for HVAC is that I meet with employers out in the community, and we're discussing your hiring needs and the hiring eligibility requirements for those needs. We just want you to be as honest as possible. We understand sometimes people don't want to put themselves in like liability situations and things like that, but we look at it as we have individuals we're working with or that we may work with in the future, because we don't always just have a pool of people ready to go for a specific industry. We want to make sure that we're being a good resource to the veteran as well as to you as the employer. We want to make sure we're sending you people with the best qualifications or, the best understanding of the role in general that you have. So getting an idea of just overall the physical nature of the job, maybe criminal background check, the level of education, things of that nature is very important. And so after this call, feel free to reach out to me if you're wanting to kind of set up a meeting time virtually or over the phone or even in person, just to talk about what your hiring needs are. Another way to participate is, again, get connected with me about if you have jobs that you're wanting to come to one of our employer highlight events or even be in our job fair in the spring or the fall. With Vetworks, like I mentioned before, we have those external internships or even apprenticeship opportunities. If you have something that you would be willing to have someone participate in for a short period of time, that's great also. And then even just providing feedback on other things as it relates to informational interviews, mock interviews, resumes and things like that. I've talked to different employers who, maybe people are just not aware of some of the changes in industry standards to applying to certain roles and things like that. And so with us having this relationship, if for whatever reason someone got denied for a job, people giving that feedback to us as like kind of a safe, middle man or woman in my case situation, that's very helpful. I have some partnerships with individuals who are willing to also meet with our veterans as needed and kind of do some informational or mock interviews. So those are great ways. Obviously, as we mentioned with the fire, you could contact others for those other resources like donations or financial assistance and things like that too, and I'll get you connected to the right person. But this is my contact information. Like I said, do all the intakes for veterans. So if you have a veteran that is needing some sort of employment assistance or financial assistance for work-related expenses, feel free to reach out to me. I'll get them connected if possible. And then as far as for just in general, going through our website, if you don't feel like contacting me directly for some reason, this is the website that you can go and put in your information stating who you are as a company, who their point of contact is, and then, reasons why you're wanting to connect or what those jobs that you're seeking to fulfill are. So thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Raven. There is a comment from Constantine in the chat that you might want to look over and maybe answer, but I had a couple things I wanted to mention. One is to make sure that people understand that you're dealing with all types of veterans. So some of these people may have or might be considered reentry or second chance candidates. So if you are reentry friendly, make sure you let Raven know that. A lot of times we work with companies that might say, some things are okay, some things aren't. She is so open to learning. Like if you have hard no's, just as long as you're honest with her, she is going to send you the best candidate for the position that you have available. So it's not like we're going to say, hey, this is a down on the luck person. We want you to hire them. They're trying to make sure that these people can be successful for you and for them. If you have openings that might you'd like Raven to look at, I'm sure she would appreciate getting any job descriptions, because then she can go back and look at her candidates and see if she has anybody that is currently ready to meet those needs, or maybe is in some kind of a training that would be available soon. So that's another thing I wanted to mention. And then Raven, just one question is, are there any certain areas or skills or job classifications that you work a lot with, or do you have candidates that are just kind of have across the board industries that you're looking to place?
Yes, to your first point, we work with all veterans. So whether people were honorably or dishonorably discharged, whether they are in reentry, whether they are classified as being professionals, whether they, I even have had a veteran who didn't complete high school, so we're getting them through, HSE type of classes, things like that. We work with pretty much just everybody on that level. And then as far as it really depends. I feel like every year it changes what the bulk of people are looking for. A lot of manufacturing related jobs, those are always good connections to have. And with that, it expands to a lot of different ranges of things. But I've had a lot of individuals interested in IT. I randomly just the other day had a person who recently graduated from a doctoral nursing program reach out and wanting to get connected. It's really just everything. So it just goes in waves. So that's what I was meaning earlier. I don't have hey, we have 15 individuals looking for this particular thing that I could just send all at one time. It really is very random based off of the needs of the individual. So we're open to any and all industries, and at least just knowing, hey, we have this contact. So when we do encounter those other individuals, we're able to reach out to you accordingly to say, hey, long time no talk. We have a veteran, and we're just wanting to share along their that they've already applied online. If you have an online process, or inform us as to what your preference is for people applying if it's not online. And then we typically are sending kind of a referral email from our employment specialist to you all.
Thank you very much. I think that clarifies too, that, no matter what kind of candidate you had, that they can work through you. So I just really encourage you, if anybody has a quick question for Raven now, or to reach out her by email and introduce yourself and share the job descriptions and the openings that you have, and see if she can assist you. So thank you very much. I appreciate it, Raven. Moving on now to,
Connie,
yes.
Jeff had a question. How
Sure.
are candidates led to you? How do they find you for assistance? How are they, I guess, referred to you? For
Raven,
Raven.
can you answer that?
Oh, that's to me specifically. Oh,
Sorry,
Yeah.
I believe
so
so.
so some so because we are a housing agency, sometimes people are initially looking for housing assistance, but and then from there, our internal process goes that way. But literally, it's word of mouth or just, people hearing about us in other spaces, or when I go and I am very much out in the community for different things, I go to, I veterans aren't a monolith, they're people. They go to other community providers and things like that. So I talk to a lot of other agencies in the community and share information, and that's how things get out too. So as I was mentioning before, if you know of a veteran that's needing resources, you have my contact information. But also on our website, we do have a link that I can put in the chat also. That is, you're a veteran that's needing assistance, and they fill it out, their name, like their contact information, and just they literally are writing what is the services that they need, and then that will go to whichever department that is relevant to what their needs are that are expressed there.
And also, Raven, Sherry asked, are the resources available to veteran spouses?
So how our grants are currently written is that as someone is working with our employment services team specifically, because our VetWorks program is only for veterans, if they're working with employment services and they are enrolled in our housing program, then we're able to also enroll that spouse or other family member. However, I am not a gatekeeper. If someone is needing some resources and things like that, feel free to reach out to me, and I will be more than happy to share information of other resources that would be a better fit for the civilian, or if the military spouse is not a veteran, then for civilians. Yes.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for those questions. I now want to introduce you to Jesse. Jesse Pimentel is with InVets. And the reason why we kind of picked our speakers is they kind of deal with different populations within the veterans organization. So I will let Jesse go ahead and do his presentation, and then we can follow up with some questions. Thanks, Jesse.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for having me. Thanks, Connie. Happy afternoon. So yes, I represent InVets as Director of Veteran Engagement. I've been here since July of 2023. I did SkillBridge, which we can talk about later on, but I left active duty November of 2023, and I'm in the Kentucky Air National Guard. So that's just a little bit about me. And then can I just get a thumbs up from somebody, anybody, that they can see my screen? Terrified. Perfect. Thank you. All right. So here's InVets. One thing, I'm just going to dive right in, and then I'll say who we are as we go. But companies have jobs to fill. Indiana short on talent. Over 150,000 jobs are currently unfilled, which is a huge task. How does InVets serve to close that gap is the primary goal here. So roughly 200 to 300,000 veterans leave the military every year. And in a recent poll that we did within our organization, 55% of the folks who have moved to the state of Indiana were open to living anywhere. So one thing that we do is we go to bases around the country and also internationally. Just presented yesterday and we visited 360 sites between January 1st of 2024 and December 31st of 2024, sorry. So we average one installation a day with our team. And then that includes as far as Japan and then as close as Camp Atterbury. So that 200 to 300,000 veterans, we're trying to get those veterans to come to the state of Indiana. That's our primary goal, and then feed that talent pool that we need. Considerations that veterans have are resources, specific veteran recruiting strategy, and then integration. So those are our focuses. And then you guys are actually the kind of folks that we're looking to team up with. What makes a service member special in our opinion is one part, 77% of the U.S. population isn't actually qualified to serve. That's not a knock on them. It's just if anybody on here has been to MEPS, which is where you go to find out if you're approved. It's one of the hardest. It's the gatekeeper of the U.S. Armed Forces, and they're doing everything they can to say no to folks, it feels like. Of our candidates, last research, 44% of our candidates had a bachelor's degree or higher. I will say that has since gone up in some recent data, which I haven't been able to put on our slide. But if anybody's heard me speak within the last year, I think it's incredible the number of service members that are leaving with graduate level education. Over 1,000 hours of training occurs just in their first contract. And then statistically, they are slightly higher in their productivity than their peers. This general here had a really interesting thing. It just encapsulates everything that a service member does before the age of 24. If they're a standard service member, graduates 18, goes into the military, and how much they've been trained in what they do and have a family and has had a deployment, and then they do all of that for roughly less than $40,000 a year. So one key takeaway for me is that a service member, when they transition into the private sector, is that there's a high likelihood that what they're looking to do is find another family to join, another mission to support. It has less to do with how much money they're making. It has every bit to do with, do they believe in the mission that they're going into with that company. Also, service members have a tendency to volunteer at a higher rate than in their community, which gets us to when we're going out and getting service members to consider the state of Indiana, and then working and partnering with our business partners that we've gained. A key aspect is they not only want to work, they want to find great employment, they want to find a mission, but they're also looking to get plugged into the community. And we try to spend time with them. I call it like the personal touch of InVets, like it's the InVets way. Bill Belichick had his, or the Patriots have their Patriots way. We have our InVets way. And that is, when we sit down, we want to make sure that we plug them into a community that is right for them. So if they want to be in a rural setting, where in the state of Indiana is a good spot. If they want to be urban, where's a good spot for them? And then we do start trying to actively engage them in their community, and whether it's faith or outside of a faith base, but they want that. Highest volunteer categories are serving the youth, helping the elderly, addressing poverty, and environmental conservation. One thing I'd say with Raven, as I've been able to work with her over the past year, she's been a great partner where we've been able to help service members kind of, in the balance of how they're handling their transition, and then work together with even other organizations. So I've shared a little bit about how we recruit when we leave. These little dots are some of the installations that we attend most regularly. We draw heavily on this. Jeff asked Raven previously, like where do her leads come from for veterans? This is where our leads come from. They come from their base. And we're meeting those service members roughly 12 to 18 months before they leave active duty. And then we're spending time with them, building their resume, doing interview prep, networking with businesses. Just today, two service members sent me an email just requesting, I won't name the company that they're looking to go to, but they have applied and they let me know. And then I was able to contact my point of contact with those two companies. We've helped build their resume to make sure that they have the best foot forward. Some bases that we enjoy going to are Fort Campbell, Fort Knox, which are Kentucky, Tennessee. And then Norfolk in Virginia is a large naval installation, which produces a lot of engineers. Indiana has a lot of opportunities for those folks. And then we go out to Camp Pendleton, Marine installation. I joke every time I go to Texas because folks who are leaving the state of Texas are always surprised to see a representative from a specific state outside of Texas. And that's something I enjoy, selling the state of Indiana to folks who are in Texas, because they believe Texas is the best state for veterans. And it gives me the opportunity to stand up and share what Indiana is doing. So that's how we get our leads. There's 14 folks who work within InVets, and then we have ambassadors that work on a part-time basis in strategic locations throughout the country. For instance, if the state of Washington has take Lewis McCord just outside of Seattle. They might have what's called a TAPS event, transition assistance program, which is government mandated, that every service member go through. They may have a TAPS event every week. That would be cost prohibitive for InVets to be there and fly someone from the state of Indiana out. So we have an ambassador who is almost always a spouse who lives in that area, and then he or she can go to the event and represent InVets for us. So that's how we recruit. What do we do to employ? That's part of our conversation here with you all. But then also what we have a website where businesses can join. We hope to partner closely with them so that we can build a relationship with that business, the HR team. Some great examples are like Friday, I'm going to be with, I'll have coffee with a local energy company here in central Indiana. We'll sit down and we'll go over the candidates that we have. They've hired 4 of our candidates in the last 90 days. And then which ones didn't make it? Why not? And it's obviously their company, their decision. So there's no harm, no foul. But I just like to have a better understanding of, okay, well, maybe I'm providing the wrong type of person, or maybe the resume could have been tweaked a little bit. So it's like that partnership within our employment space. Our invets.org is where businesses can go to and get set up on the platform. And then we have Brian Evans and Jeremy Kinker. Brian is the director of outreach, and then our CSM is Jeremy Kinker. They work closely with the businesses on the employee side. All right. And then we retain a key component, especially within the state of Indiana, is not only do we want to get the service member to move to the state of Indiana and experience all the opportunity that there is here with employment, but we also want to ensure that they're staying here and that they're happy. So our team of veteran engagement managers, which is spread out throughout the state of Indiana, they run outreach programs with community events. It can be as small as a bowling event. It can be as large as going out and having Mission 22 sponsor a barbecue event for us. We did a golf outing in Notre Dame, Indiana, not too long ago, and we partnered with Bone Frog. So Southern Indiana, we have a basketball game that we opened up tickets for all of our service members that have moved to Southern Indiana, January 18th. So we want to make sure that not only they're happily employed, but that they're also continuing to feel the love of all of us from the Hoosier State. Traction. So we have over 700 employers signed up on the website. On the website, when a service member goes, or I'm sorry, yes, I'll actually say when a service member goes on our website, they can see all of our partners and the jobs that our partners have made available. So if a business partner hasn't made any jobs available, then the service member will not see it. On the opposite side of that, our businesses can also have their own access. They have a log on. Once they log in, then they can post all of the positions that they have available. We will be moving. It's very exciting. We are in the final phases of moving to a new system, which is going to have a business that uploads all of their information to the system. And then our service members will upload their resumes. When a service member uploads a resume, the algorithm's going to scan for keywords. It will automatically find the businesses that are a good match, and it will send the businesses an email for who the service members are and their resume. It will do the same for the service member. So the service member will receive an email that says, hey, based on your resume, you are a good fit for these 5 companies. And then the business will say, hey, based on what you've uploaded for needs, here's a resume that may be a good fit for you. And then it can bridge that gap, which is pretty exciting for us. It's going to be huge. So I ask if anybody's interested on here, what questions do you have? How can we be partners? How can we better serve our service members together? And that concludes my presentation.
Jesse, this is Connie. There's a
Hey,
question
Connie.
in the chat that says,
Awesome.
are all these roles full-time, or in some cases, do you fill the roles on a contractual 1099 basis?
Okay. Good question. So InVets is working as a how do I want to say this? Like whatever the business has that they need is what we're sending the service member to. So we're not hiring them, we're partnering with the businesses to hire them, if I'm understanding the question correctly. So if a business has a contract-based employment, we may have a service member that would fill that need. If the service member doesn't want to do a contract base, then there probably is someone. I know we have approximately 10,000 service members in our database. We're actively engaged in roughly 2,500 service members that are that are somewhere within the 12 months of leaving the military. Within that number, I'm sure that there's somebody that's interested in contractual, part-time, and full-time. Going to a previous question about spouses, we also help the spouse. So just to kind of get that out, we help the whole family. So there you go.
Another question I have for you, if these service members are not located in Indiana currently, or they don't have family here and you're trying to get them to move here, I mean, these are pretty high level jobs, aren't they? That these individuals are going to be looking at. It's not going to be entry level jobs. It's going to be, can you give people an idea of the positions that you're filling and what kind of salary requirements, or is there a range that gets people interested in moving here? I mean, I know our cost of living is better than some locations, but you know, can you kind of give us a guide there?
Yeah, I really appreciate that question. Something else I'm fired up about. But so we average roughly 15% lower salary than the rest of. So the state of Indiana offers is somewhere around 15% in project management space. Just one example. We have an 11% lower cost of living. So that's an interesting conversation point that I have with service members. That so how do we kind of cover that down? That's one issue. Regarding specifically your question, which is like, okay, so they don't have any family. Why are they coming here? So I just had a young man. He moved to Columbus, Indiana. He got a job with one of the manufacturing plants. To be frank, that guy is 22 years old. His family lives in Ohio. He doesn't want to live in Ohio close to his family, but he's a huge football fan. And he's like, well, if I'm a huge football fan, I'm going to live in the state of Indiana. He loves the Colts. Like that just happened last month. But on the other side of it, there are service members choose to move here for kind of an array of, it's not just family that brings them back. That's why the 55% was really interesting for us to discern. They came here though they were open to anywhere, and I think we have some untapped opportunities that perhaps, like, you know, here's the big states that people think of. Florida. When you think of leaving the military, you think Florida, you think Montana for some, you think California, you think Texas. And then you think East Coast, kind of mid-Atlantic, depending on what job you came from, right? The state of Indiana, when they meet us out there, like, what are you doing here? And then we have that opportunity to share, you know, okay, well, let's talk about top 10 cities to live in the state of in the country. Talk about cities. So if people want a safe place to raise their family, Indiana is going to do really well. If you want a low cost of living, we're going to do really well. We have Fort Wayne. I mean, we kind of get to run the gamut of places, and we're kind of salesmen for the state. So Carmel, Fort Wayne, Evansville, you know, Hamilton County, Marion County offer a ton of opportunities that run the spectrum for service members.
Does anyone else have a question for Jesse? Great. Hey, Jesse, what's the best way for them, if they're interested, is to go on your website or to reach out to you directly and you talk to them, then they go on the website?
Yes, that would be awesome. I think Raven Raven, thank you so much. Raven and I talk all the time. She's amazing. She put my email in for me.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think and then I'm going to put my contact in, my cell.
Okay.
And then
great.
That is my preferred method. Is I want to partner with each one of you and just build a relationship because the relationship I build with you is just going. I'm like a bridge by which we can connect the service member to awesome opportunities in the state of Indiana. So however we do that, I'm very open.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go ahead and cover for Cody Manier, who could not make it with Working for Warriors. And I wrote that in the chat, but I'll put his contact information in case you want to reach out to him. But a lot of what Cody does, and unfortunately he couldn't attend today, is that he's working with people that have been in the military for a shorter amount of time than Jesse. People that have been in, Jesse, what do you call it? Your first, is it,
Oh,
what
first
do you call it?
contract.
Your
First
first contract.
Yep.
He's dealing with a lot of people that have had one contract and are getting out, and many National Guard members. And so what Cody does is he works with these individual veterans and makes sure he translates their military resume into a resume that a private sector employer could read and understand their transferable skills, the things that they learned in the military. Many of these individuals do not have a certain career pathway that they are, dead set on going into. So he tries to match up the skills that they have and the interests they had in the military with the private sector job. So he's really good about that translation of the resume. He also likes to meet with employers, and then he will reach out instead of just sending out a blind email to all the candidates he's working with. He tries to get a job description, understand what the employer is looking for, and then he individually reaches out to candidates that he will be a good fit. So I think that's really important, because I think that you all do that. It's not just this mass, email that you send out to every candidate, that each one of you are trying to find the right candidate, the best candidate to be successful. One thing to mention too is Working with Warriors is with the National Guard and people that are getting out of the military after their first contract. So these people will have no background issues to deal with. So if that's something with your company because of some security reason or clearance that you can't hire anybody with, any kind of a record, then that might be a person that you can, a veteran candidate that you can work with. One thing to keep in mind, though, that many of them are National Guard members, so you'd have to be flexible when they have their guard duties. So I will make sure that I mentioned, and I'm not doing a good a job as Cody would, but it gives you an idea about the different, the different type of candidates that Raven and Jesse and Cody work with. So I'll put his email contact in the chat. And if anybody has any questions, we've got about 10 minutes. So, you can just raise your hand or come off mute and ask questions if you'd like to. Okay, I'm not good with silence, so I'm not gonna hang
I was
out
going to
here.
just say, as
Okay.
review, so for InVets and Work for Warriors, they're both throughout Indiana, serving veterans, whereas HVAF, we're only in mostly central Indiana. So we have 9 counties that we serve versus the other 2 organizations. And then Daniel, I assume that you're also throughout the whole Indiana, or no?
Not necessarily me, but the organizations over every part of the state.
Yeah.
Most of the people that we reach out to, because EmployIndy is Marion County focused, is companies within Marion County. But a lot of times, some of these companies that we deal with have different locations. So that's really good to know that they might have, other locations in other counties. So anyway, I just want to make sure that, and then that everybody got questions answered. What we will do following this, and I want to give a shout out to my colleague Rachel Urso, who's on here. She is the one that keeps us organized. She's the one that sends out the reminders, the invites, and that kind of thing. And she will follow up with a thank you for attending. And then we will send this recorded presentation to everybody that was here and everybody that's registered. And we'll make sure the contact information on the speakers is on there as well. So that way that you guys can each follow up an individual. And Raven and Jesse, if you guys are interested in having the name of the people that have registered, we're happy to share that as well, if you would like to do outreach. And lastly, all I would like to do is if you have any other workforce issues that you would like us to consider doing a lunch and learn, we'd love to hear from you, because we just try to use this as a value add to just give you things to add to your recruiting toolbox. And like I said, every time we meet with people, they say they're interested in hiring a veteran. So we wanted to make it a little bit easier. So thank you very much. And if that's it, I'm going to give you back a couple minutes of your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I just
Thank
posted
you.
my LinkedIn in our chat. If anybody just,
Okay.
if that's how people like to connect.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you all.
Take care, Connie.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.